Hey, 2Bs, it's Psychic Bob. Well, here it is. It's Saturday, and that means it's time for our Spiritualist class and our Seance. And Fletcher told me that I'm allowed to channel today. You know, I've been taking a break from channeling for a while to raise up my physical energy. I'm doing really well. By the way, I got to tell you guys, thank you to all of you who came out to yesterday's video. If you didn't see that, we had a bit of an adventure. I went to Washington, D.C., and I went to some art museums and saw some amazing art. You got to see it. We had a really great time. Those of you who came out to the video said how much you enjoyed it. And I had a great time too. Well, check that out. It's in the queue right before this one. Well, anyways, we're going to jump in here. Today we're continuing along with our book. We've been reading for the last few weeks Sylvia Browne's book, Mystical Traveler. And I recommend you get this. I'm not being endorsed by Hay House or any Amazon or anybody, but you know, I think it's a great book and I highly, highly recommend it. So we're going to continue. We're on page 30. Let's see, where am I? I can't see my notes here. Page 34 today. And we're going to start on the section called Unconditional Love. So you might want to get this book. You can follow along, or if you don't have it, that's okay too. Just listen closely, okay? So we're going to continue. Now, we're going to do a little bit of reading, a little bit of teaching, and then a little later we'll have our seance. And keep it here. We are going to have the seance, the trance channeling today, okay? All right. Unconditional love. As a mystical traveler, you're endowed with a great deal of psychic discernment and unconditional love. Such love always seems to pay back, but it may not be in the way you think. Unconditional love means that you purely cherish others' souls. But you never love evil, and you don't have to be at anyone's beck and call. That's where some Christian concepts, such as love your enemy, go astray. I know that Jesus purportedly said to do this, but did he intend it to be taken literally, or did he mean to love the enemy's soul within? To take this to its most drastic point, let's think about those who are involved in war. It would be illogical to say that everyone who is shooting at us in battle is evil. Wars are fought over land and territory, political gain, material wealth, and ideological differences. And they're usually instigated by leaders of governments. We have to realize that before a particular skirmish began, the individuals firing at us were not our enemies. Nor will they be afterward. Just like us, these people were suddenly thrown into a conflict, not of their making, and told to destroy the enemy. These folks have families like we do. They eat, sleep, love, laugh, cry, and try to survive just like we do. And the most important, they are generally good like we are. Now let's just pause there for a second. I think this is very, very interesting because I have to tell you a story from my own family. I had an uncle, his name was Bud. He was in World War II, and he fought the Germans, the Nazis. Now, I'm not justifying Nazism, but Uncle Bud told me a story when I was younger growing up, and he said he'll never forget being in the war on Christmas Eve. And he said the generals of each side declared a ceasefire just for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And I said, oh my gosh, I said, so everybody put down their guns. And he said, yeah, he said the enemy was literally just across the hill, like across the field and a hill from us, and we were shooting back and forth, and we got the command, put down our weapons. And I said, what happened? He said, well, on Christmas Eve, we approached the line. There's kind of like a line in the ground. And we all sat and talked to each other, and we shared coffee. I said, what? He said, yeah. He said the Germans came over, and we shared coffee. We had some extra coffee. They had coffee. We put together our sauce, and we showed pictures of our families. And I thought, my God, how amazing. I wonder how many people know about that. And it was not considered treasonous or, confratting with the enemy. It was allowed that there could be some contact. And so the men ended up meeting in the field. They showed their pictures of their families. They wished each other well. And then the next day, they had a quiet day. And then the next day after Christmas, they had to pick up their guns and start fighting again. But I've never forgotten that story that he told me about that Christmas Eve when he talked to German soldiers. And I said, what were they like? Wasn't it scary? He said, no, they were people just like us. And I think what Sylvia is saying here is so very true, that, we get caught up in these wars and ideologies. And I'm not saying there aren't times when things are worth defending. I'm not such a peacenik that I say we should never fight. Sometimes we have to fight to defend life and liberty, and sanctity. But really, so much of what we call war is just political posturing. And so let's think about how we love. Sylvia goes on, writes, we'll continue. She says, I think you get the point here, that war is one of humanity's most devastating follies. I can just see a soldier on the front lines having a buddy shot dead beside him and then yelling, I love you, as he empties his gun into the enemy. It's also hypocritical and pointless. I really don't consider war to be a good example of what enemy means, yet it is the most devastating to so many innocent human beings. Isn't that interesting? So, I think this gives us a lot to think about, because as spiritual people, we're called to love. We're called to be of service to the world. We're called to love our enemies. And like Sylvia says here, really, who are the enemies? And like my uncle, I'm so thankful he told me that story about World War II, because we can't fathom it today. If the enemy, the Germans, Americans sitting down drinking coffee together during the middle of the war. But it happened. It really happened. And it's probably happened in a lot of places around the world, a lot of different wars. So we want to think about who our neighbors are, how we love them. What are we caught up in? Spiritualism is one of the religions which was a forerunner in the freedom of slavery movement. During the time of slavery, the spiritualists challenged the government for slavery issues. They said, these are people, they have souls, they have lives. Who are we to enslave them, treat them like property? Spiritualists were considered radical of their days. And I think that as spiritualists today, we have to kind of go back to our roots and remember that we were voices for social change. A lot of people today think of spiritualists as just as people like me who sit around and look into our crystal ball. Okay, yeah, that's part of it. But really, there's so much more. There's about understanding our role as spirit beings who have come into this world to bring transformation. So today we want to think about that. Let's think about loving our enemies, loving people, forgiving people, finding peace, and being that voice for change. Anyways, that's a lot to think about. So I'm going to keep this short today. I just wanted to read this little segment. We'll continue more, but I think that's enough for today. I think it's time for us to have a seance. So join here. Let's gather around. Let's have a seance. Well, guys, it's time for our seance. So if you were here in my home with me, well, which in a sense you are in virtual reality, I would just have you grab your chairs and put them in a little circle here around me. And so we'd sit in a circle. And so just pull up your chairs to your computer and know that you're now part of our seance circle. I'm going to take the lights down and I'm going to go into trance. Now, for those of you who have not seen this, don't be afraid. I'm in no pain. What happens is I'm going to go into a trance state. And while I'm in a trance, my spirit guides overshadow my consciousness. They take temporary control of my body and they speak through me. So we're going to see what they have for us. So gather around and let's see what the spirits have. I'm going to turn down the lights here and I'll see you when I get back. Oh, this is Fletcher here. Give us just a moment. We've got to get control of the medium's vibration. Oh, there we go. You know, whenever we take over a medium's body, we got to be careful that we don't damage the nervous system. It's a little bit of adjusting. He raises his power, we lower our power, and we occasionally meet in the middle here. Well, this is Fletcher. I'm so glad to be back with all of you. And we got a few people to want to be speaking today. So I'm going to step out of the body now and let them come through. Good to see you. This is Fletcher, over and out. Yes, Fletcher, I believe we have made contact. Greetings to each of you. My name is Alfred. I've come today to visit with each of you. Many of you have been calling upon me. You have said, Alfred, will you come and speak to us? We've not wished to overtax our medium's body, and so we've taken our time in making our appearance. But today it seems that his vibration is strong enough to support us, and so we are able to come and speak with you today. I should like to invite each of you to remember that inside of you exists also that spark of light, that divine nature, that energy, that it connects you to the cosmos, to God, to infinite intelligence. Many people wonder about the world, and they think that this material world is all that there is. They look about and they say, I don't see God, I don't see any proof of goodness in life. All I see is misery, suffering, and decay. It is true that the material world is a temporary abode, a place where there is much challenge. But do you not understand that you have chosen to enter into this realm, dare we call it, as it really is, the realm of darkness, to test and to try your very soul? Each of you who are listening to my voice today are quite exalted beings, for you have chosen to enter into the world and to come into the earth, a place of darkness, to leave your abode of safety. Each of you come from the spirit world, though you do not remember it. The spirit world is a place of great beauty, a place of great peace and comfort. Some of you will say, well, why would I, dear Alfred, leave such a place and come to this place of darkness? You see, each side of you, there is, as I said, that very spark of divinity. It is that spark of divinity which is part of God, infinite intelligence. Infinite intelligence, though created everything, wants to know its creation more intimately. And so infinite intelligence enters into every being that is created. Each of you have a spark of infinite intelligence, as well as your own consciousness. Do not think that infinite intelligence submerges you and that you lose your identity. No, all beings retain their identity here and in the hereafter. But when you come into the material world, you bring that spark of infinite intelligence with you, along with your own consciousness. And thus, as you learn and grow, so infinite intelligence has the joy of experiencing its own creation in a multifaceted way, in a multidimensional way, that is not possible when one remains detached from one's own creation. You see, infinite intelligence is the very thinking force, the mind of all creation, the consciousness. Some would call it God, we call it spirit. It can be any term that you wish, yet know that infinite intelligence is the ground of all being. But infinite intelligence operates by the principle of love, and one must have someone to love. One cannot love emptiness, and so thus all the souls came into being, that infinite intelligence could experience love. Infinite intelligence loves its creation, and in turn, creation loves back its creator. There is an exchange of energies which brings light and harmony to the spheres. Understand that in the material world is very devoid of love, and it is for that purpose that the beings of the spirit world come into the earth. The earth was created as a place of learning, a school, but to truly grow and learn, some things had to be removed. One of the things that was removed from the earth was a little bit of infinite intelligence. You see, when you enter the earth, there is a feeling, and for many of you who have died and returned to the body, you understand this, what I'm about to say. There is a feeling that when you come back into the earth, that somehow you are missing something. Some of you have died, and when you've returned to your body, some of you have even said, and I've heard it said many times, if only I could stay in the light. Here I feel so alone. Yes, the earth realm is a place where one is often alone, but it is that separation from infinite intelligence that makes one want to quest more, to learn more, to experience. If you were in total contentment, you should make no progress. And this is the very purpose of your lives, to come into the earth, to make progress. And so do not curse at God and infinite intelligence in the spirit world and say, you've abandoned me, you've left me in this place of suffering. No, this is not the attitude one should have. One should have the attitude, I've come here to learn, to grow, and to help awaken souls. You see, the danger in entering into the earth is that some of you forget who you are and where you come from. You become so enmeshed in materialism that your heart grows cold, that you learn not to love your fellow man, your fellow human, I should say. You learn not to love and beauty and light and goodness. You become bitter. Bitterness is the poison of the earth, and it is one of the challenges that humanity must overcome. And if you are to grow your soul and return to the light, you must be careful that you do not let bitterness overtake you. Learn to love. Look with eyes of compassion on suffering. When you see your brother or your sister suffering, say to yourself, it could very well be I. I must reach out in love and kindness and gently remind them of the light within. You do not have to travel to the far corners of the world to exhibit works of compassion. In your own neighborhoods where you live, there are souls who are suffering. There are elderly people who are shut in and forgotten about. There are sick people who have no one to visit with them. Can you not think of even one person, perhaps, that you could pay a visit to today, and thus you could bring the light of infinite intelligence? All of you here who are awakened to the concept of the soul, of eternal life, all of you are ambassadors of the spirit world. You are ambassadors of God, and you have a duty to bring the light of the spirit to those places where it is most abandoned or forgotten. I invite you today to let yourself reflect on these things and know that you are children of the light, and from the light you have come, and to the light you shall return. My name is Alfred. Greetings, my dears. This is Rose. Oh, such a blessing to be back with all of you. I was listening closely to Alfred's words, and I must say he has spoken such truth. If you could understand the beauty of our world, the spirit world is truly a realm of light. And for those of you on the earth who say, Rose, I exist only in darkness, I see no light, remember that inside of you is that doorway. You don't have to travel far across the galaxy to connect to the divine. The doorway to spirit is right within your own heart. If you meditate and look within, you will find that light. But do not keep that light to yourself, no. The discovery of the inner light is given to you in order that you may let that light shine before others and let them taste of the goodness of heaven. You see, the spirit world is unlimited, and over here we are always growing, we're always learning. There is no limit to knowledge here. We have vast libraries, and we have research centers. We have temples where you can commune with the higher aspects of self and with divinity. Know that the spirit world is a place of evolution. It is where you come to grow, where you come to learn, and where you come to perfect love. I think of all the human struggles upon the earth, the greatest of these must be to learn to love. You see, humanity, as Alfred has said, gets very caught in its own darkness, and it forgets who it is and why it's come here. Oh, I know that during my own earthly life, many times I was very bitter about things and judgmental, and I did not love, you see. But coming here to the light has allowed me to understand what love is. Each of you today must embrace love. If you will begin to let love into your heart, then you will have love to love others. You know, it is very true, you must learn to love yourself first. If you look at yourself with judgment and condemnation, you will have no peace in your life. Could you even today, I challenge each of you here, could you say to yourself, I think I can love myself, maybe just for a day? Now, I know for some of you, you'll say, but Rose, I have so much sin on me, darkness and evil. My dear, what you have is ignorance. Try to understand that if you have done evil in the world and you've been hateful and hurtful, that came from a place of lack of knowledge, a place of unknowing. Today you can choose to say, well, I will start to know. And knowledge is the path of progress, my dear, for it leads to infinite intelligence from which all love flows. Do not try to overwhelm yourself. Make a commitment that today, even just for 24 hours, you will love yourself. You will let go of your judgments. And if you can do that, you will begin the path of progress. Don't think that you have to suddenly be perfect. And some of you here today are saying, well, Rose, someday I will get my act in line, I will get myself together, and then I will serve infinite intelligence. No, my dear, it starts today. Don't waste a day. You see, if I had only a halfpenny for each of you of knowledge, I would say learn to love yourself, and then you will love others. Some people go in the world and they try to serve the poor, and they try to do good, but then they find that they fail abominably, and they say, how could I fail? I was doing good. But you see, they were serving out of fear, out of vanity, out of ego. This is not the place. Don't look at your brother and say, oh, those poor dears, I must help them, they're so poor, I must show them how wealthy I am. You see, this is how I used to do charity. I used to put on my finest clothes to try to impress the poor. It didn't get me anywhere, now did it, dears? It was very vain and shallow. No, you love yourself, and when you discover that love of God, you'll naturally share it in the best way. You won't have to do it from ego or vanity. It will be sincere. Sincerity counts for a lot in the spirit world. You know, over here, we don't judge you by your deeds. In fact, no one judges you. You judge yourself. Nobody here will judge you whether you do good or bad. But you yourself will face your own reckoning at the end of your life. And so I say, if you do good in the world and you love your neighbor, then you will have joy in your life. And you'll have peace, and when it's your time to come back, you'll return in glory. Oh, my dear, every day I see souls crossing the great divide from your world to our world, and some come in magnificent clothes of light and glory. The brilliance, well, it would stun one and blind a human eye. You'll see, my dear, that's because the human eye cannot grasp the truth. The spiritual eye sees the root truth. But when these souls come to our world, they're so beautiful. Aim to be a soul that returns in beauty, and you'll have the right idea. It just says our medium's power is waning, so we don't wish to tax him. But I do thank all of you for gathering today. And do to remember what I said, my dears. Give yourself love. Allow yourself to love yourself and forgive yourself just for even 24 hours. You may be surprised how easy it is and how much better it feels. And once you learn to forgive yourself and love yourself, then you will love others with the right way, the right heart, not with ego, but out of true sincerity. Where the medium's power is starting to fade, I can feel the energy waning here. I shall not keep you, but I thank each of you for allowing me to be here today. And I do hope you will remember to call upon me. My name is Rose, and I look forward to things. Tubies, I tell you, I so enjoy it when I have the chance to let the spirit guides channel through, and I hope you've enjoyed being here today. Listen, if you've enjoyed this seance, help me out. Like this video, favorite it, share it with your friends, hit subscribe, be part of our channel. We'd love you to be here. If you get a chance, pop over to my website. I've got some wonderful books there. I am a published author. This is one you might enjoy, Messages from Rose. This is about my work as a medium and channeling my spirit guide Rose. So definitely check that out. We've got Psychic Bob's Book of Wiccan Wisdom, some of my reflections of my 20 years of Wiccan practice. We got Psychic Bob's Book of Spells, got some magical spells and all sort of fun. We've got the Ouija Mysteries, the Spirit Board Seances. All of these are available over at my site, so definitely check it out. Well, guys, listen, I've so enjoyed being here with you today. By the way, if you want to get to spend more time with me, you might want to think about investing in a private reading. Private reading is a full hour, you and me, one-on-one. We cover everything, past, present, future, spirit guides, your life mission, what you're here for, your karmic links, all of that. And I also answer all your questions. So if you want to get on my schedule for a private reading with me, give me a call at my office at 703-825-3929, or you can write to me, and my email will be below, readings@robert-hickman.com. Again, that link will be below, as well as my phone number, so give me a call, 703-825-3929. Now, if you send me an email or call me, make sure to leave your phone number so I will be able to get back to you, okay? Look forward to hearing from you. You guys are the best. Listen, keep it here at Spirit Channel. Tomorrow is Sunday, and that means it's time for the witching hour. So be here 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 6 Mountain, 5 p.m. Pacific for a live broadcast. We're going to talk about all things magical and Wiccan. We'll see you guys back here tomorrow. Till then, I love you guys. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you then. May you always blessed be.